Um, for most of us, our speaker really doesn't need an introduction. It's Kristen. All of us in like the Attleboro Seekonk area have felt the love vibration that she's sent out over that whole area. That's kind of like absolved us all, and I'm so grateful for her friendship. But I think all of you, have experienced Kristen in one way or another as like a friend, a healer, a leader, a warrior. She's kind of like just taken our whole, area and really like allowed us some light and some transcendence and some heart. And she's helped so many people heal. And she's obviously like the co-founder of this meeting, pretty much responsible for this meeting starting up. So I owe her a lot of gratitude. She's an advocate of plant medicine. Her family owns a Quantum Wellness Center, which she personally manifested, and they've opened up to all of us. And that's where this meeting originated. She's the author of a book that's coming out soon called Heal the People, that I think is going to touch a lot of people in the world, and hopefully everyone gets their hands on that book. She started the Women's Wildfire Collective, which is kind of like this meeting but for women, where they all just get together and pretty much share the light. So she's living her life on purpose. She's living her life in purpose. She's in complete alignment with her soul and heart, and as a result of that, she's become the light. And I think we all are grateful for you, Kristen. So take the microphone over.
Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction. I could really I could feel that in my heart. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I try, whenever I'm doing speaking things, I try not to think too much about what I'm going to say, and I kind of just allow whatever needs to be said to come through me. But I took down like a couple bullet points just so I don't get off track. But I figured I would start with just like my story and kind of like bring you guys through where I've been and how I got to be where I'm at now. And so I'm going to start with something that I think everyone who experiences being human shares. And that's this, for me, it was the core wound that I call separation. And we have to experience it in order to go through an earthly journey. We have to experience ourselves as separate from our source, separate from spirit, separate from energy, right? We have to experience ourselves as matter and as an ego and a personality. And this was actually the greatest wound that I experienced. This was like my primary trauma, I think. And, a lot of people, we all acquire lots of traumas and lots of pains in life, but the severance from spirit was really, really, it was a deep wound for me, and it created a lot of pain in my early life. And I could never understand why I had this. I really hated being a human. Like, I found something wrong with every little part of being a physical body. It was deep trauma. And that was the beginning of my wanting to escape. And so I did that in so many different ways from the time I can remember being, 2 years old and wanting to escape the density of being in a body. And so, fast forward to my teenage years, when I got introduced to drugs and alcohol and partying, that pain, I realized that I could silence that suffering, that these substances could alleviate a little bit of that suffering that I felt. And that led me into what I now consider to be my initiation, but it was a deep, serious, long-standing opiate addiction. And as soon as I realized that I needed a substance to get through the day, to get through it like an hour, a couple hour time block, that's when I was like, shit, I have to find a way out of this. Like, I have to find a way to heal myself from this. And so I consider that the great pain teacher. Pain comes to us as a teacher to help transcend us. And it woke me up. And so that was my initiation and the beginning of my journey back to source, back to spirit. That was my healing, really, at the beginning of my healing. And so that seeking, that sort of like that that birth of this desire for more led me into the self-help section at Borders. And I started reading all these books. And it was actually a book titled The Secret. I read the book The Secret. And it resonated so deeply with me that I don't actually think I was learning anything from that book. Rather, I was remembering truths. And so it was just like, it was reconnecting me to the wisdom that my soul already had. And so I read the book The Secret, and it was my first introduction to this idea that maybe my thoughts were creating my reality, or that like my inner world had something to do with my outer world. And I started paying attention to what I was thinking about and what I was feeling about. And slowly, like, my life started to change. Like, these crazy things started happening to the point where I couldn't doubt this secret. It was like, this was real. And somehow it was, the effects of this practice were so tangible in my life that I couldn't not pay attention to it and really start to practice it. Like, every day, like, I would practice these thoughts and feelings, and I got so jazzed up about it that I was trying to tell everybody I came in contact with, like, you got to read this book, and you got to understand, like, we're so powerful, like, we create our reality. And like, at the time, this was like 12 years ago, and not a lot of people in my immediate circle were like on that frequency, and I kind of probably sounded like a crazy person to a lot of them. Plus, I was still a drug addict, so there was that. And it actually led me, though, to this mystery school. And this is this was like, coincidence, which they say coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous, right? Somehow I find this mystery school, and I'm in my early 20s, and I find this tribe, this school of people who are studying ancient mysteries, and they're studying energy medicine, and they're reading all the books that I had spent, the past couple of years in my basement, like, devouring. And it was like, it felt like coming home. Like, I felt like Harry Potter, he gets his owl letter and he finds out, oh my God, like, you're a wizard, and like, this is your school. And that's really what it was like in my life. And that's when I found my spiritual tribe. And I spent, a considerable amount of time with these people. And what happened, this shift that happened inside of me, was I started to love who I was, like, on the inside, because I started to remember who I was. These people that I was with were reminding me that I was this spiritual being, and I was this magical, person, and I had this fairy energy, and this was all real. Like, this wasn't just fantasy in my head, that this was real for me. And I started to really like how I felt when I was with these people. But what would happen is I would leave school on the weekend, and then I would go home to my life as an addict. And it started to create like this incongruency between my inner world and my outer world. I knew that if I was really going to level up and be the person that I incarnated into this body to be, that I was going to have to kick that addiction. And I had tried every way that conventional treatment told me I should try, right? Methadone almost killed me. I almost died. And Suboxone, all these things that, like, I went to detox, and I did the meetings, and I did everything that I was supposed to do. And it just didn't work for me. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I know so many people that it's worked for, and it's a blessing. It just that wasn't my medicine. And so, as I always did by this point in my life, is I gave it up to spirit, and I said, guide me. There was one night it was actually my birthday, and my brother gave me this like incredible gift of all these beautiful crystals, and I loved them so much. But there was this pit in my stomach that knew that he thought I was worth that, and I wasn't living a life that reflected worthiness. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was going to change my life. And I got down on my knees and I said, help me out. Like, I can't get myself out of this hole. And so, like, within a couple weeks, I was watching Netflix, and I found this documentary that was called Facing the Habit. And it was about this plant medicine called ibogaine. And there was this stirring in my soul, this inner recognition of like, girl, that's your medicine. And I knew that I just knew there was something inside me that there was just knowingness. And so I went about finding that treatment. and it changed my life. It was such an incredible journey, and I had experiences with that medicine that it showed me past lives. It showed me the original root causes of my traumas and my addictions, but it also showed me a book. Showed me the cover and the title of a book, and I knew in my soul that was my life's mission. So it wasn't just heal the people. It's not just a Facebook page or a title or a blog. It's like, that's what's in my heart. That's what I'm here to do. That's my life mission. And so after that experience, that vision, it kind of it stuck with me permanently, and then it's like I keep getting redirected to it. No matter how far off course I get, there's always that redirection to what does it mean to heal the people. So shortly after I healed from the addiction, I didn't heal from the effects of the addiction, right? So I had kidney disorder, I had liver toxicity, I had GI, gut issues, I had chronic illness in my body. My body was really, really, really toxic from 7 years of pollution, and not eating right. And so again, it was like another painful experience that I was like, shit, how am I going to heal this, And so I go back down the rabbit hole and I start to research nutrition and detoxification and cleansing and all this stuff. And so I decide when my suffering was so great and my skin is completely broken out and I'm just like, I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I surrendered and I did this raw vegan diet for 90 days. All I ate was greens and green juice and living foods. And what happened was this spontaneous enlightenment experience. It was this full recognition of who I am as a soul, and that I saw heal the people again. And I knew oh, this wasn't just a fantasy or an idea or oh, that would be cool to write a book. It was this is what you came here to do. And if you don't do it, if you're going to be in resistance to your life mission, and suffering is going to happen in your life. And so there was it was 9 days of pure consciousness, this vibration and this frequency that was beyond anything I've ever known to be real in my life. And it was so pure. It was beyond duality. There was no good and no bad, no light and no dark. There was no polarity. It was just love. It was just pure unconditional love. And it was so profound. And there was nothing else I wanted more than to find a way to share this frequency with people. That was my truth, was how do I bundle this up and put it in a package and give it back to everyone I love? There was this knowingness that I was somehow here to share this with humanity. And so that's that leads us to right here, right now. That whole story brings us to this moment with this group of people, and quantum health and wellness and the Quantum Transcendence Tribe and the book Heal the People. This is my way of, and also organic nutrition. I do a lot of work with people in cleansing their bodies and healing their bodies. And this is what it's about for me, is sharing this love, this frequency of coming from this place of total self-loathing, total self-hatred and self-loathing, and knowing that you can alchemize any situation, any pain in your life, any suffering, any resistance, anything that you're dealing with. You can utilize that for growth. And there's forces around us that are so powerful that want to see us thrive and want to help us grow. And we just have to say yes to the journey. And so I'm just so blessed to be able to share this story with you guys and to hear your stories, and the fact that we can all get together and we can do this work together, because I know so many of you are on similar journeys. And to me, this is what it's all about, the spiritual tribe that can enlighten each other and can hold space for each other and can encourage one another to grow and connect. Because if it wasn't for my spiritual tribe when I was in school, I never would have been able to see myself, right? We need to see greatness in others in order to see greatness in ourselves, and we need to see greatness in ourselves in order to see it in others. And so that's what's in my heart. You guys are in my heart. This meeting is in my heart. And, you know, thank you guys so much for allowing me to just share myself with you all.